Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I will be sharing with you some of the most puzzling paradoxes that will make you question your sanity. A paradox is something that seems to defy everyday life. Who are you?
Well, that's obvious, isn't it?
No, not really.
I knew I came from the future, and well, you're in my seat.
Well, if what you're saying is true, then why don't we just take turns?
I guess that could work.
Okay, well, then I guess you can just start us off then. So here's 10 of the most puzzling paradoxes.
Number 10.
The Ship of Theseus, or the Grandfather's Axe paradox, addresses the problem of original. Let's say you have a ship built with 100 pieces of wood, and over time the wood is eroded, you replace one of the pieces. Now some more time goes on and you replace more and more of the ship. At what point does the ship not be original anymore? Or is it still the original ship? So now you have a new ship with 100 pieces that have all been replaced, and then you go get the old wood and you build another ship out of it. Now which one is the original? This may be easier to explain with the Grandfather's Axe version of the story. So let's say you have an axe, and over time the head breaks, so you need a new replacement. So you go put a new head on the axe, and then the handle breaks. So you then get a new handle and put that on there. Is it still the original axe? Or have you just got two replacement pieces and put it together? A bit like Trigger from Only Fools and Horses, who replaced his broom handle twice and his broom head 3 times. He said it was very reliable.
Number 9.
A prisoner is told...
My turn, I think.
Alright, fine.
Yeah, trying to hijack my channel.
The unexpected hanging paradox can be explained by a prisoner being told he will be executed on a weekday of the following week. However, it will come as a surprise to him, as he won't know what day it will be until the executioner knocks on his door at 1 PM that day. While the prisoner initially upset about the decision of his hanging, he comes to realise that his hanging cannot happen. And here's why. What the prisoner realises is the fact that if it is going to be a surprise, then if it hasn't happened by Thursday, then it cannot happen on Friday because it won't be a surprise. And if it cannot happen on Friday, then when it reaches Thursday, if it hasn't happened by Wednesday, it won't be a surprise. He continues that logic until he realises that the execution won't be a surprise and therefore won't happen. So he believes that he will walk free.
That is until the executioner knocks on his door and really surprises him.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Anyway, it's your turn.
Thank you.
Number 8.
A super task is a task that can never end. Like, ever. However, what if we set a time limit on such a task, forcing it to end? I'll give you an example. For this task, I will give you 2 minutes, and what you have to do is flick a lamp on or off. Sounds simple, right? However, you only flick the switch every time the time reaches half of what it was at the previous task. So you start with 2 minutes, you turn the lamp on at 1 minute, and then you turn it off again at 30 seconds, and then 15 seconds, and 7.5 seconds. It's infinitely dividable, so there's an infinite amount of tasks. But the task will end because you only have 2 minutes to do it. Will the lamp be on or off at the end of the task? In real life, the light bulb would probably just explode, so it'd be off. But in a hypothetical scenario, it becomes a bit more complex. Will we ever know?
Number 7.
The Monty paradox is more of a statistical paradox, addressing the idea that you think you have a certain chance, but actually, it's not quite as easy as it seems. So let's say you're on a game show and you can pick one of 3 boxes. In one of the boxes there's £1 million. In another box there's nothing. And in the third box there's, well, a cat. Now you want the £1 million, so you have a 33% chance of picking £1 million for your box. So let's say you pick box 1. Well, it's simple so far. You have 1 in 3 chance of getting what you want, and oh wait. Hello? This is interesting. The dealer is offering you a swap. However, he's also changing it a little. He's going to reveal what's inside one of the other 2 boxes. So we open box number 3, and there's nothing. So now there's either £1 million in your box, or a cat that's either alive or dead, but let's not go into that just now. So should you swap? I mean, you've either got £1 million in your box or a cat, so it's 50-50, right? Wrong. It's actually 66%, and here's why. The logic to this is that the game show host isn't going to show you the £1 million if it's in the other two boxes, because that would be bad television. So when you picked your first box, you had a 33% chance of getting the box you want. So when you get the offer to swap and he shows you one of the boxes, there's a 66% chance of it being in the other side. Now, he's opened one box and there's nothing in there, meaning the second box that's closed has a 66% chance of having the £1 million. Math. Hey, should we check on that cat now? He's still in the box.
No, don't worry. Schrodinger said he'll figure it out eventually.
Alright then.
Number 6.
The Bootstrap Paradox. It might be a weird name, but I thought I'd do this one because it suits my needs. Imagine you are a time traveler and you go back in time, tell Shakespeare about Romeo and Juliet. Well then, he goes off and he writes Romeo and Juliet, and then I see it in the future to go back in time and tell him about it. Who created Romeo and Juliet? Because William Shakespeare heard it from me, and I, in the future, heard it from him. In other words, if Shakespeare didn't create the idea in his head, then I wouldn't have been able to go back in time to tell him about it. But if I didn't tell him about it, then he wouldn't be able to write it, so yeah. And there is the other
Hey,
side.
why not mention the grandfather's
Would
paradox?
you stop interrupting me? I'm
Oh,
trying to
alright,
get
keep
to
quiet.
it. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to show you.
Hey, what are you doing? No!
The other side of it is the grandfather paradox, where if I go back in time and kill myself, then I couldn't go back in time to kill myself. So, am I alive or dead? I mean, I've just killed myself, so I'm dead. But now I couldn't go back in time and kill myself, so I am actually alive. So, in the future, I will be going back in time to kill myself, and then I will be dead again. This is getting a bit confusing. I think we should just move on. Now that the timeline's fixed itself somehow, it's a mystery to me, but we can now continue the video.
Number 5.
The Raven's Paradox is about the relevance of evidence. It starts by simply stating, all ravens are black, and then by stating, everything that is not black is therefore not a raven. Which is a weird way to word the sentence, but if we continue with that logic, we can then state, this thing is not black, and therefore not a raven. Which implies that we've just gained evidence that all ravens are black from looking at something that isn't black. Which is obviously not true. Or is it?
Number 4.
Am I alive? Or am I dead? Am I alive? Hello again. I've been stuck with infinite loops now, so I'm going to go with something a little simpler. Let's think about a statement. If I said, this statement is false, then if that were true, then the statement would be not true, because it would be false. But then it would be true. This statement is false. If it's false, then it's not false.
Number 3.
The Coastline Paradox is something we actually struggle with in real life when measuring a coastline. So I looked up the measurement of Great Britain's coastline, and it roughly estimated at about 2,800 kilometres. Now, I also looked up on a different site that it was 3,400 kilometres, which is a pretty big difference. So which one's right? Are they both wrong? Or are they both right? Well, the answer, 2,800 kilometres, was gained by using a straight line at 100 kilometres per straight line. And the answer, 3,400 kilometres, was gained by using a straight line of 50 kilometres per straight line, which meant that the 50 kilometre straight line could actually get into a bit more of the details of the map, meaning the number can grow. But at what point do we make the line shorter or stop making it shorter? Because the shorter it is, the bigger numbers you're going to get. And as we've already said, you can always divide infinitely, so that means the coastline of Madagascar is exactly the same as the coastline of Australia, because both answers, if shrunk enough, would be infinite. But that's clearly not the case.
Number 2.
If you think of an infinite set of numbers like natural numbers we do every day, and you started writing every countable number into a book, how many pages would that book be? It's infinite, right? I mean, it would never end. So now if you wrote the world's most pointless book with every countable number in it, and you decided you want to do a sequel, and only write odd numbers in there, then that book should be half the size, because you've only got half of the countable numbers in there. But that's not true, because it is also infinite. So the books would be the same size, but still only containing half of the finite numbers. You know what, let's just move on before I get the headache.
Number 1.
The Paradox of the Court is an interesting one. It's also my favourite. So this one's about a tutor teaching law to his student. Now they have an agreement that the student doesn't have to pay any fees until he wins his first case. Unfortunately, the student decides that he doesn't want to work in law anymore and then never takes his first case, so he doesn't have to pay his tutor. The tutor, annoyed that he'll never be paid, takes the student to court, forcing him into his first case. The tutor argues that if the tutor wins, then the student will have to pay by court order. However, if the student wins, then he'll still have to pay as he's won his first case. However, the student's counter-argument is that if the student wins, then he doesn't have to pay by court order, but if the tutor wins, then the student still doesn't have to pay as he's never won a case. Now, I'd hate to be the judge in this hypothetical situation, but if you were the judge, what would you do? Let me know in the comments below. There are many paradoxes out there, so if you found this handful interesting, then why not subscribe to my channel? I release at least one new video a week, every Sunday, so click that bell to be notified of my new releases. So we'll see you next time with 10 more facts. Goodbye.